Today we're back on Project X Haul. This is a 2005 GMC C5500. It's an 8.1 gas Allison automatic. Used to be a U-Haul 26-foot box truck. I bought this truck with electrical issues, and it also has no reverse in the transmission. I bought it because I needed a section of frame for another truck that I'm building. Rather than spend money for a frame section, I bought another truck. We'll build this truck, make some money on this truck, and get our frame section for free. All of our labor will be paid for and our frame will be paid for. So, in the last video, this is in a playlist and a video series. In the last video, we took the truck apart, got the extra frame off, cut the frame, re-drilled holes for the new location of the axle. We're building this to be able to accept a 10-foot dump bed or flatbed, gooseneck hauler, whatever. But right now we're up to this point. We're ready to start in the plumbing, and we can't use the old tank. The old tank is damaged. It used to be on this side. If I try to use that tank, not only is it ugly, it's going to hurt the value of my truck, but it only leaves me about an inch between the step here and the tank and this hanger and the tank. So we got to figure out something else. So I'm JC Smith. Stick around. I'll show you what we're going to do. All right, so we emptied the fuel tank out. I filled it full of water. I got the top out of it and that filler neck I'm going to need for the other one. Uneventful. So here's one of the reasons I'm not using this tank. You can see it's dented here. It's dented here. It's got more damage on this side and the bottom, as well as the fact that it's just too long. So I just went ahead and picked up the other tank. We're just going to use what we need off of this tank, which was the center section where the sending unit mounts to. And before I chose the tank, I went to where the fuel pump module rests, and I measured to the top, which is going to be hard to see now, but I did this with the center still in it, and I chose a tank that had the same distance, or very, very close. You can see down in here, there's no reservoir around where the pump goes. It just sits right on the bottom. It has a place here for sediment where you could drain out, where it's recessed down just a little bit, but the pump just sat right there. Now, there's no module, or there's no reservoir there because it's a fuel pump module, not just a fuel pump. And over here is the fuel pump module. So you can see here is this plastic housing. This plastic housing, you put fuel in this thing, it lets fuel accumulate inside here. It will actually put fuel inside this module and hold it in there. So if you go up an incline or down an incline and you're low on fuel, you still have fuel in here to actually run off of until you get leveled back out. So we don't need to do anything like a reservoir in here at all. We can do without that. We just need to make the changes to our tank. So you can see here we're right about 16.5 as well. So it's a good fit on this tank. And another reason that we chose to cut the center section out of that tank and put it on this one is because the stud spacing the way it is, and this is not just an opening. There's an opening in here, and it's form fit, and there's a ledge right there, and the O-ring not only seals against here, but it seals against this ledge as well. And by changing out this whole thing, we turn this thing into the same thing we had before. So next thing we got to do is get sticking this together. And this is where I have to use a disclaimer. Don't do any of this stuff with fuel tanks if you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't been properly trained, certified, got a pedigree, and all that kind of stuff, because, you know, you could hurt yourself. You could actually do enough damage to yourself that you quit sucking air. So my advice to you, and don't do what I'm about to do. I'm going to go ahead and glue this stuff together and see how it works. We've washed the inside of this tank out. We purged it with CO2, and I'm not telling you how to do it, I'm just telling you what I did. And I don't think you should do what I did. But I purged it with CO2 and got all the fumes out. Now this tank has been sitting empty for about 3 years now. So that's a benefit in my favor, that's for sure. So that being said, let's get to work.
He's finishing up the TIG welding for the gas tank. You all done?
I think I'm finally making a little progress here. This tank, I should have probably pulled this tank up before I did it, but whatever. This is my last one I just did. This is probably the best I've gotten so far out of all of it. With this, it's very difficult to lay out of the heat. That's the problem I have, is I'm used to trying to do things so hot. But hey, this is I think closer to what it should look like. You can see how the heat only come out so far here. You know, look how it's a little wider out here. But yeah, we're doing okay. It's getting better.
So he's got all the welds done, and we noticed this was seeping just a little bit. So I think this is where the strap went on the tank. So he patched that, and he struggled a little bit because there's so much rust on here, but I think he did pretty good. I think it came out good.
Yeah, like I did this with no filler because, and you can see it's kind of concave. I did this because if I have to go back over it, I'll add filler anywhere it's leaking. This is so rusty under here. I tried to get all this out, but you can see how he struggled. And a lot of that is rust pits. I mean, granted, there's a large amount of this that is just, you know, me inexperienced, but you know, it came out all right. This was very challenging here because not only am I going around this filler neck, but it's in a curve. So I have to go close, farther away, and yeah, inexperienced, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. I'm going to put about 5 pounds of air pressure in it. These are just plumbing fittings, and we're just plugging up the holes. I put this is a rubber test cap. I just drilled a hole and put one of the bolt-in valve stems in here, and we just put it on to about 5 pounds, 6 pounds. It doesn't take much. You should stand back though, just in case it does anything weird.
Okay.
This is not a pressure vessel, and you should be very cautious ever putting air into something that isn't. That's why I'm going slow and easy.
And then we'll just spray the seams with soapy water and watch for bubbles.
Getting there.
How much are you putting in?
I'm putting 6 pounds.
Oh, wow, it's taking a while.
Yeah, it's a big thing. You gotta figure out how long it takes you to fill your air compressor to 175. And I'm being careful too. Okay, there we go. Now, another thing I could have done differently is this right here, without the air pressure, has a little bit of a dip in it. I should have taken a piece of angle iron across this, clamped it together before I welded it, but whatever. Now we can see how many leaks we got.
Better shake it. Oh, maybe you don't need to.
I don't hear well, so I have to rely on soap.
Here, I'll spray the patch over here. Or you can.
Probably have to turn that patch on. Are you kidding me? Come on now. I'm waiting for bubbles to appear somewhere.
Like growing bubbles.
Yeah.
That's what I call.
No.
Looks all right to
No
me.
way.
Did you check the filler, Nick?
Well, yes, but we'll have to turn it.
Okay.
We're gonna get some spray foam window cleaner because I like that better because it'll clean in a certain place. But I can't believe I don't have any leaks. I find that very hard to believe. Peter had more faith in me than I did. You gotta be kidding me. I don't see a leak one. Not even around my test cap. Better make sure there's still air in this thing. Yeah, there's still air in it. Alright, let's go get that window cleaner. Does that look like it's getting bubbly or no? So we'll let it sit for a while, and then if there's going to be any bubbles, you know, we probably had to like get rid of all of these bubbles. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll let it sit and see. We'll bring it back after we see. I don't see any leaks. I find that very, very hard to believe that there's no leaks. I'm going to attribute that to one very, very incredible teacher.
Okay, we dried it off. I'm just gonna spray it with his vintage glass cleaner. It's GM glass cleaner. I don't know. He got it at auction, I think. Or, no. Yeah, auction somewhere, but he's had it forever.
That's because at the auction I went to, I bought like 3 cases of it.
It's well over 20 years old.
Yeah. And it's still full.
Brandon was laughing at it. He's like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get that?"
This is why I like foaming glass cleaner, because look, it stays there.
I know, but does it bubble?
Well, yeah. If there's a leak. If we got bubbles, we got troubles. See how it kind of clings to it?
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
I think it's
How
fine.
in the world can you get so... But here's the thing. You want to make sure there's no leaks, because once we put this gas in it, you know, it ain't so easy to fix the leak then.
I know, I understand that, but
We'll let it sit for a while. I'll come back to it. I'm not convinced it's not leaking yet. So we left air pressure on it overnight, and we didn't lose anything. So you know, but the gauge shows it's still at the same pressure, but maybe it's just slightly off. It's hard to tell. So we sprayed it all again and inspected everything with a light real good. No leaks. So we moved on to the send unit. I wanted to build a cover for this because these are actual gas lines, not diesel lines. This is gas. And I didn't want these getting damaged with something coming down and hitting them. So I just took some plate steel and just made a cover. And I drilled some holes in the corners and made these tabs and welded nuts to the back so that this can just go right over top of it. And then I made it so that it doesn't touch the tank here. It goes slightly above it so that we're not in contact with the tank. You see, we got just a little bit of an air gap there.
it's so dark and rainy today. It's kind of dim in here.
So I was concerned that, you know, this much weight on the tank these welds would crack here. But we have a baffle right here that stiffens the body this way, and then we have an overlay, 2 layers of steel here welded together. So I think we're going to be okay. I've leak tested as much as I can. I guess now we're just going to scuff this thing up and paint it. We're not going to sandblast it or anything. We're just going to wire wheel, flat disc, do our best, and paint it. And then we're ready. We can move forward with the mount that goes on here. So we're done with the tank as far as fabrication goes. So we're going to try using this phospho. I see a lot of guys using this stuff, and they talk very highly about it. And if you don't know what this is, it's a rust converter, and you can obviously see how thin it is. There's a chemical reaction that happens when you apply it to rust, and it turns rust into iron phosphate. So as you brush it on each coat, we put 2 coats on. When it dries, you'll start to see this white chalky stuff maybe, and it'll turn black. And that is the chemical reaction happening between this and the rust. You can't put it over loose rust. It has to be wire wheeled or whatever, just down. It doesn't have to be shiny. It just needs to be no loose anything on it. So while we're waiting for this to dry, we're going to move on to the mounts. When I was looking at this tank, I never even considered that these 2 little loops would be in the way for our straps for the original mount. I just figured we'd just dodge them somehow. So being though I don't want to take these off because of the condition of the tank, and we're already done welding and it's not leaking, we're going to manipulate the brackets. The original brackets that came on the truck would have been 2 independent ones, but U-Haul welds them together. We remove that so we can change the spacing. So now we need to put the brackets on the truck frame. And you guys, a lot of guys watch us, you know I have a Milwaukee M18 mag drill, and I love it to death. But I get a lot of comments of guys saying, I wish I could afford one, I'd love to have one, but it's just out of my price range. And I get it. If you don't use it often enough, it's hard to justify. It's like I think it's about $2,800 today. So by the time you put sales tax on it, that's a $3,000 investment. So what I did was I ordered up a new mag drill that's a cost-effective option. We're going to see how good it works and see if maybe this is an option for anybody who does this kind of work or just wants a mag drill but doesn't want to invest that kind of money. We're moving our gas tank from the passenger side to the driver's side, so we're getting it laid out now. But this is the mag drill I ordered. This is made by Evolution. It is not a battery drill. This is a corded mag drill. It's a cost-effective option. I think this thing is priced at like $680, so it's not expensive. And then I ordered their annular cutters too. This set of cutters goes up in 1/16 of an inch and doesn't skip anything. Starts at half and goes all the way up to 1 1/8 inches. They're a high speed. I didn't see them offering a cobalt. If they did, I may have missed it. But these are a high speed. I prefer to use cobalt because truck frame's pretty hard. If you're gonna do this, use this way, then it's a good idea to use lots and lots of cutting oil. Keep it cool and keep it cutting. I like the case, and I like the fact that each and every one of the cutters comes with its own pilot bit, and that's pretty nice. The case is nice because it holds them in there tight, and when you break one, if you break one, I've broken many going in a truck frame. I tend to get a little hard on them. But you can just replace them one by one. You don't have to buy the whole set. We're going to be drilling 5/8. We're using 5/8 bolts. I don't like to drill holes larger than what we need. I like them to be the same size. If you look at the way it's ground here, it's very similar to the grind and the ones that I use normally. So we're going to get this set up, and we're going to drill this frame. It comes in its own blow molded case. But yeah, let me get it out of here. It also has, I don't know if it shows it on here. It has, oh yeah, here. It has an adapter chuck for just regular twist drills, and you have the oil cooler, that attachment. We have an oil cooler for my Milwaukee. I just don't use it because I have a better oil applicator person than that. So let's get this thing out. Get it set up. So these are for the These are for the handle. So, got a guard on it. Get these 3 handles out of here. Well, there's one thing I'm a little concerned about on my Milwaukee, and I know I'm gonna compare this to my Milwaukee because, you know, that's what I use all the time.
That's what you're used to.
Yeah, but my Milwaukee, this your handle here, you can change from one side to the other. I don't know if that's possible on this easily. I don't see an Allen wrench. I'll have to read in the instructions here, but yeah, on the Milwaukee you can take this, push the button like a ratchet, and then you just move it to the other side. This is just like the Milwaukee. You can adjust this if you're using twist drill bits. You can move this up. Where's the chuck adapter at? Right here. Okay. So here's a chuck adapter, and it just screws into here like so. And this this collar's got 2 flats on it. One thing I noticed when I saw it online was it doesn't have a twist collar. It is an Allen set collar. So when you put it into here, there's set screws that go in here. Yeah, one of them's right there. So you have to back out your set screws and tighten your set screws. You see up in here. See those set screw right there coming in right there. Mm-hmm. All right, so you're gonna have to be conscientious of where your flats are too for the set screws, because one is here. Okay, push it in all the way. All right, so push it in all the way so that spring works against your centering pin. Okay, is that? And I would imagine they probably want you to use a second one when you go up beyond a certain point. Oh yeah, that's a whole nother little bit of extras. No extra set screw, just one. Okay. Just one set screw. I see that one is for the fitting for the oiler. Here's a strap to hold it to whatever. And then miscellaneous Allen wrenches here. And then the chuck. And that was all inside this case. And then there's your safety thing that will go with all the rest of the safety equipment we own. Alright, so I've got my holes marked out over here, so I'm going to get this set up. Again, if you were going to use this with twist drill, you would need more room for this. So that's where you would adjust it on the side here and slide it up and down. We don't need that, so we can go down pretty far and then see where that's left-handed threads too. Let me see if we got enough travel here. Most certainly do. Okay, so we're set up good. Let's get it set up on this side. Line it up where you need it. Get it there. And then flip your switch. And like most mag drills, they'll have a minimum thickness that you have to have in order for it to hold. Okay. This is only a single speed. I don't see a dual speed setting anywhere. Just a single. Get a fuse for the magnet. And you got two different switches. That's for your magnet, and then up here is for the actual cutter itself. Now, this is what I was talking about with the handle. I don't know if that's reversible or not, but we'll use it down here.
It looks like it is.
I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to read. If it is, you'll see it. I'll put it in the description. Well, that cuts well. Yeah. That cutter works very well. I was a little concerned about that speed.
It's like a really high speed.
It is. It is. So we have to go through 2 layers. That's why I just popped that out. Now we'll go to the next one. So far, so good. I'm pretty pleased with it. So before I move this, what I'll do is I'll clean all this off, and I'll clean off the bit because I want to make sure that tip is very clean. And then I'll roll this back in to where that tip is almost touching, and then I bring it up to my next place. As far as getting this on the frame, I gotta say, I like this better. I like the, you know, I'm hard for us to say that anything is better than my Milwaukee, but, you know, reality's reality. Having this switch back here is really nice because this is, the weight of this is manageable. My Milwaukee's kind of heavy. It's quite a bit heavier than this, I think. Mm-hmm. But this drilled a really nice hole. Look at this. That's a very, very clean hole. So, anyways, let's do the next one. So again, we're going through 2 layers, so we have to get that out. It's funny, I'm looking for the switch right here.
Yeah.
Like my other one.
So I don't know if you finished your thought about the Milwaukee and being heavy, and to like engage the magnet, you have to like twist a little knob.
Yeah, there's a knob back here. It has an earth magnet in it, so when you put it up there, if you click it 1 time or 2, that knob on the rear, it's enough to get you stuck to the frame and hold it, and you can still adjust it, but you have to support it while you're doing that. And that's it can get a little tiresome, especially when you've, drill about 60 holes,
Yeah, and the switch, you can do it with 1 finger.
Yeah. Yeah, the lineup with this is definitely easier. Like, watch, I'll just go in just a little more, and then I'll just take, and the positioning is good because you're going to support it here. So you can take this off and wipe me my towel. I always have her wipe off the base of it and the frame too. That way we don't have anything in the way. And then I just go right on my center point punch mark. And look, it's there. The lineup is just so much easier with this. Okay, I don't think it's as powerful as my M18 Milwaukee. I'm noticing that it will definitely bog down. Ready?
Is that it?
That's the first one.
Oh.
The little piece popped out. So for longevity of my annular cutters, I try to take a break in between each hole, let that thing cool down. A lot of times I'll actually let it spin in the air, and I'll put some oil on it just to cool it down. And I'm always wiping the. I hate a dirty tool, so I'm always wiping it off. Okay, let's go ahead and go through the rest of this here. So, like I said, you can definitely tell when there's, it's not as powerful, but I think that's just a matter of getting used to the tool and maybe going a little slower. And you can tell the difference in the tone from the frame to the cross member. It's definitely two different materials. Okay.
But it's still cutting.
Oh, yeah,
sounds different.
it's just different. That's all. Like I said, I think I'm hoping this is a cost-effective option for people. You know, maybe, you know, it's $680, I think it is. It might fit the budget a little better. Yeah, that's pretty smooth. A lot of your less expensive annular cutters will look very grainy in the hole here. You know, they're not ground well, and they leave a real grainy looking metal behind, but that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So I moved on to the other set of holes, and I wanted to take the Allen wrench and recheck that annular cutter just to make sure the set screw hasn't come loose. I gotta tell you, I'm really liking the setup and how easy this is to get lined up, and how easy it is to just flip that switch and it works. You know, it's not nearly as convenient as having a battery at times, but you know, you don't have to worry about a battery getting low and then you're turning too slow. You're not, you know, the bit's not going fast enough. I am still concerned about the actual speed of the annular cutter because it's pretty quick. And again, these are high speed annular cutters. They're not cobalt. So I guess they can take the higher speed. They're cut very, very well. Like this was not a problem at all. Of course, it's only 6 holes. We drilled 6 5/8 holes, but so far so good. Now, we get all this finished up, and I drill 5/8 holes for 5/8 bolts. GM, when they did this originally, this tank mounts were 5/8 bolts that went into 13/16 holes. I don't understand why. It's beyond me why in the world you would drill such a huge hole. I just couldn't see the need for it. And I can't think of any other application where they would, you can see the holes right there in the screen across the frame. These are the bolts we're using. These are actual frame bolts. They're meant for used in suspensions and framework. But yeah, I just take an annular cutter here and double checked it, and it's a 13/16 hole for a 5/8 bolt. I can't for the life of me think of any reason why you would ever do this, but anyhow. We got our holes drilled, so the next step is we'll get the strap or the fuel tank mounts put into place, and we'll snug them up by hand and check out our positioning, see if everything lined out okay. Well, that worked out pretty well. We went ahead and put the straps on so we could check them, and we're about probably 5/8 of an inch away on either side, so that works out well. Plenty of room for our cover. I'm not concerned about being above here because whatever upfit we have here will be, you know, quite a bit above. I just want to protect that sending unit and the lines. So the next thing we'll have to do is take the tank off, get it ready to paint, waiting on that OSFO to dry. And then we got to run fuel lines. Now, GM, when they had this on the other side, they ran the fuel lines through a hole in the frame, and I'm not kidding you, it was probably 2.5 by 2.5 hole. It was a huge hole in the side of the frame. And I don't want to do that. I have no interest in making any more holes in the side of this frame, in this vulnerable part between that leaf spring hanger and the front axle, the rear leaf spring hanger, than we have to. So we're going to try and go under the frame. Maybe not real easy because of the fact that it has to come down and back up. But if we do have to go through the frame, we will drill a much tighter, smaller hole, get our stuff through it, and get it manipulated where we need to. But I'm pretty happy with this so far. We're making pretty good progress. We got to take it all apart and get ready to paint, and then I got to do the plumbing. Okay, so this housing had these adapters in it that went from an O-ring fitting to a push to connect. And rather than have that in there and all the extra crap that went with it, I just cut it back and cut the line off and just recreated this with my line tool. So now it's going in the same direction it was before. So now the feed from the tank will come in here. We just have to come out of here with the same one of these, but bend to 90. I'll try and get it up against here if I can, and then bring it around the frame, and then wherever we're gonna make the hole to come through the frame to the sending unit, we'll bend that 90 as well. I hate to put a hole in the frame, but I don't want to go under it. I think the best thing I can do is come through it. I'll just try and make a reasonable sized hole, but I just want to get rid of these. Now I had to cut the other one off here, and I'll have to do the same thing with this because I need this fitting to screw into that because I don't have any of those. But I guess you could just put a push to connect and use a nylon. I just think that maybe metal might be better. We'll see. All right, so we've got the fuel lines all taken care of. There was 2 adapters on this fuel filter housing. I just took new line and created this one here, got it strapped up there. And then I took the fuel lines, they used to come down this way, way down here and come over. And I just brought them back and bent them, and I drilled the frame in staggered holes and brought them through. I got them brought up like this because where the sending unit is, they're not, the fittings on the sending unit are not this far apart. They're pretty close. So I bent these at a 90 at an angle so we could manipulate them to come in the tank. And then I cut the fuel lines here, and then I reflared these, reused the nuts that were on the lines in the union, and used epoxy coated steel lines and ran our new brake lines in. And I've got them secured, this one's secured here with a couple wire loom clamps, and they're secured here in the separator holders too. So that's all handled. We got the sway bar in now, we got the shocks in, so now we're pretty much at a point, and we bled the brakes. We fought the caliper on this side for the longest time. One of the bleeder screws wouldn't come loose. This is a 4-piston caliper, and I've said many times that, you know, I don't care for these trucks as far as GM's concerned. I don't think GM makes a very good medium-duty truck at all, but I've always said I love the brakes on this. If you look at this caliper, just look at how big this brake pad is and how thick it is here, and that's 4 pistons in each caliper, and the same on the back and the front's 4 pistons each. That's why I really like the brakes on these trucks, because they're just incredibly strong. We're bleeding the brakes out, and we've got all the shocks done now, the sway bar. I'm at a point where I need to address the transmission issue. There's no reverse in this truck. And before I put the tank in, I want to dig into this and see if I can figure out what's going on. I'll need the tank in to verify any repairs so I can start it up and put it in reverse, but I'd like to be able to roll up underneath here and do my preliminary checks before the tank's in place, because that's going to be a lot of in and out and checking pins and wiring and continuity and if it's able to carry a load, that kind of stuff. I've decided I'm going to put this truck up for sale as a cabin chassis before I put the dump bed on, because I have a few other things I'd like to do in the meantime. So I'm going to put it up for sale once that transmission issue is taken care of. I am going to put a hitch plate on the back. I picked up a hitch plate here. I haven't gone through and made it, drilled my holes or any of that kind of stuff on it yet. But it's a 1/2 inch plate, which is more than adequate for this truck. That's what, if you bought it from buyers, that's more than likely what it would be. I just haven't decided if I'm going to go cut it, notch it this way, like this, and then put it inside the frame and weld both sides, or if I'm just going to butt it up to it and weld the outside and then weld the inside. It's 6 to 1, half dozen the other. It's still only a C5500, and you're only going to be able to get so much weight on this rear axle. But I think that's it for now. We'll bring you back on the next one when we make some more progress. So thanks for watching, guys, and catch you on the next one.